All right, so I have all the I have both seats out, and I have some new packages. So what I've got is this. Oh, it's a little glared, but this is a short shift kit. So I can change out the shifter, and these are the little blocks. I know this shifter that's in here is sloppy, so this is one of the ways to tighten it up. Plus the boot is loose, so I'm going to figure if I can get that connected. So the only way to get this thing out is with both seats out, because you got to get to the screws on both sides. There's 4 screws, untake the cables, and should be able to get it out. Next little project. All right, so I got the cover off. It's just the 4 screws, 2 on each side, and then you got to pull the little handbrake up a little bit, and then you got to disconnect. These are the wires for the doors, or I mean for the windows. So you disconnect those and take these 2 little clips off the inside of the cover, which is sitting over there on the far side now, and then it just lifts right off. So pretty easy. Now I got to start taking this apart so that I can get to these little bushings down here and replace the bushings and replace the shifter. All right, so one of the things I want to do is to see how much this short shifter helps me. So I think I'm going to measure from this. It's up all the way, so I can keep that in the same spot. 7 inches right there. And when I slide it all the way back, it is 3.5. So the throw is about 3.5 inches from this. Yep. Okay. So first to second. So that gives us a good range, and we'll see how that matches up. All right, so first thing I can tell, I've got to take this pin out. It's got a pivot on the back, and that'll let this open up. So I just used a nice big punch. This is just a hollow little pin. And I'll get this pulled out. Like so. All right, so I've got to get this pin out here as well in order to get this all out. So you got this little, I'm not sure what you call these kind of clips, but it's a pressure clip. So I'm just taking a little tiny screwdriver and just slowly worked it. I think it's just about to come off. There we go. We can get that off, a little clip like that. Now we can push this out and get that out. We do have to pull this here, get all that out. Alright, so that's one shift cable removed. In order to get that out, I can lift this off. This off, underneath it, I was ready to take this out. I just got to disconnect the ball down at the bottom and take that off. There's a funny little spring clip that holds this on that you got to get out of there. Oops, almost had it. One half. Get the other half here. Being able to see much of what I'm doing. There we go. And that'll lift out. Easy enough. All right, so now we can look at the difference between them. You've got the pin and the bar. And the big thing you can tell is that the new one is longer underneath the shift and shorter up above. So you kind of, it's a little shorter altogether. It doesn't have the little bend in it. But sure. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is put in these spacers. These are just little aluminum spacers, and they go right in there, which give you the extra lift that you need so that the new stick doesn't hit the bottom. Plus these ones that are in here inside this are rubber and have a little bit of give to them. I don't know if that shows, but they give a little bit. Figure at this point they're probably a little worn, so this ought to stiffen things up as well. And once we do that, then we'll work on putting the stick back together and putting everything back together. All right, so these nuts down here, the bolts are 12 millimeters. There we go. Four. So there's a little metal piece, and then and get the rubber out. This rubber, it's not too bad. Now, let's go in. All right, I've got these all in. This is hard as a rock. You don't want to be too tough on these, screwing them in. And in mine, these were a little larger. These were 14s versus the ones that came out were 12s. But now it's in there nice and snug. Now, we can go back to the shifter. We got to remove these little plastic caps. All right, so I just pulled the caps off of the balls. Easiest way to do that, I think, is you put it in the vise with this on top, take a punch, just knock it right out the middle. Pop, pops right off. Okay, so I'm going to grease these up. Got some grease. I'll grease these up. I think it's one of the important things probably of this. Grease all the rubbing components together so that you get a nice smooth action. And so I'll put these together onto the new ones, and we'll go to slipping it in. All right, so I got some grease in each of these. Got these caps put back on. Put a little bit of grease in here for the ball to rest on, and we'll start putting this thing back together again. All right, so I just greased up. This is the cap that goes over the top. Just grease this up. Get that on here. Like so. That's set in there. That's going to go over the top like so. This is the pin that goes back here. All right, so now you figure out what our changes in the throw. One thing I did notice right away is that this is farther away from here because this is straight rather than having a little cock in it. But when I get it lined up, throw it all the way back 2.5 inches versus 3.5 before. So and a 1/2 inch shorter or a full inch shorter throw. I think that's a pretty good plus. So now we'll get to putting everything back together again. All right, now I'm in, and I got the center console back in as well as the seats, because obviously you could take the seats out, do the center console. And my short throw, I put the cover back in. It sits a little lower here, but I don't think that's too bad. And the throw is much shorter. So should be kind of fun. It's also significantly tighter. There's very little wiggle. I mean, this is just play in the cables, which when I do the adjustments in the back, put the new connectors in the back, that ought to help too, but much stiffer. So really, the interior of this car is already pretty much done. The only thing left is the radio. This is the original stereo, and it is pretty beat up, so I may change that out, but it doesn't really function. You know, it functions, the radio works, so I'll get to that eventually. But for the short shifter and the seats and the interior is essentially done.